Good morning, friends. This morning session is dedicated to class 10, and we are going to do a beautiful lesson, chapter 4, from the diary of Annie Frank. Well, there are three aspects of this story. One is the childhood life of the girl, 13-year-old Jewish girl, Annie Frank, and the impact of invasion of Hitler on the Jewish people. How the life of the people who are invaded by other countrymen under other country, how they lead a miserable life at the time of battle. What are the miserable conditions, that also is being focused. This chapter highlights Annie's I mean habit of writing all her feelings and emotion in her diary. She considers her diary as her best friend. Though she is surrounded by 30 people, yet she hasn't any true friend. That is the reason why she has made her diary as her true friend. She calls her diary Kitty. The Annie's childhood, when she was 13 years old, Annie Frank, a 13-year-old Jewish girl, she was gifted a diary by her father when she was just 13 years old. So she decided to write in her diary, which she considered her best friend. She called her diary Kitty. In her loneliness, she often wrote her feelings and emotions in her diary. She began writing in her diary in the year 1942. In her first entry, she expressed her desire to confide everything to her diary, and she considered paper having more patience than people. She often said that paper on which we write have more patience than people. Her childhood was not very happy. Annie called her father the most adorable person in the world. He married at the age of 36 with her mother when she was 25. She had an elder sister, Margot. She lived in Frankfurt for some time. As they were Jewish, they had to migrate to Holland. So she lived in Holland most of the time. Annie's schooling. She was sent to Montessori Nursery School. She stayed there until 6. Her, at her farewell, she had tears in her eyes along with her headmistress. Her grandmother's death had a great impact on Annie. In the year 1941, her grandmother died. She had a great shock after the death of her grandmother. She didn't write for some time in her diary, but after that, she started writing from the year 1942. Her view about the teachers. She considers the teachers the most unpredictable creatures on the earth. She was not good at maths, so she often talked about and was worried about maths. Her friends often were worried about math, but she was sure that one day she would be better at maths. She always considered teachers as the most unpredictable creatures on the earth. She was often punished by Mr. Kissing for her talkative nature. She was often given extra work for her talkative nature. She was lovable of every teacher except Mr. Kissing, who taught her maths and gave her extra homework. She asked her, he asked her to write an essay on the topic a chatterbox. She wrote the essay in a poetic form and give the title "Quick, Quick, Quick," said the chatterbox, Mrs. Chatterbox, which humiliated Mr. Casing, and he allowed her to talk and gave her freedom to express herself. That is how the story comes to an end. But the most important thing in the story is that the girl, Annie Frank, often expressed her feeling in her diary. Her diary became instrumental in her life because she expressed everything in the loneliness. So, how these people, her family, remained hiding at Holland during the invasion of Germany over Holland, and how the people suffered during the war. So there are two aspects of the family. One is that of the story. First one is that Annie's Frank's way of expressing her feelings and emotion and making her diary her true friend. At a very tender age, at the age of 13, she understood that even when we are around the people, but we hardly have a true friend, the best friend that we can make is our diary, in which we should express our feelings and emotion and make it our best friend. Similarly, the second part of that every child is not fortunate to have a very happy childhood. Sometimes war and calamity makes the people suffer. The family suffered because of war. They had to migrate to Holland, and the Jewish people had to remain hiding for several years. She also became the victim of the war, and she had to remain confined. In her loneliness, she wrote in her diaries expressing her feelings. So even as a child, she was affected by the man-made calamity, that is war. So all that is about Annie Frank, and this is an interesting lesson which teaches us the lesson that even a child has the tender emotions and feelings and to express herself in loneliness, and she makes the diary more reliable than human being because she calls paper having more patience than people. That is how I conclude the story. Thank you. Have a nice day. This is Mr. Eddie Singh on the channel Easy English by Eddie Singh.